We begin today's wrestling news and rumors video with some huge news regarding Sasha Banks and Naomi, the current women's tag team champions in WWE. Now, as some of you may be aware, Naomi and Sasha Banks were originally planned to be a part of a supposed six-pack challenge to determine Bianca Belair's Raw Women's title challenger for Hell in a Cell 2022 last night on Raw, and the plan that was apparently talked about would have seen Naomi defeat Sasha Banks to win the match and get the Raw Women's Championship match against Bianca Belair at Hell in a Cell next month. However, there was reportedly some concern from Naomi and Sasha Banks regarding these plans of the six-pack challenge, and a rumored alternative plan was that Sasha Banks and Naomi would have lost a tag team match on Raw last night to determine their next challengers, with the rumored opponents being Doudrop and Nikki ASH. However, it has been stated that WWE decided on moving ahead with their six-pack challenge idea for Raw last night, and this is when Sasha Banks and Naomi reportedly informed John Laurinaitis that they would be leaving, and handing him the Women's Tag Team Championship belts before leaving and walking out of Raw last night. With that said, some within WWE believe Sasha Banks and Naomi were more upset and angry at their future as the Women's Tag Team Champions over the whole six-pack challenge rumored storyline idea for Raw last night. And by all means, this doesn't look good whatsoever when it comes to Sasha Banks' and Naomi's statuses in WWE, and Vince McMahon is likely very upset by this whole situation. It has been reported that Sasha Banks and Naomi have been very unhappy over the way WWE has handled their women's tag team championships, and clearly Raw last night was the final straw or breaking point, so to speak, for Naomi and Sasha Banks, and that they essentially had enough and needed to leave. It has now been revealed that Sasha Banks has unfollowed WWE, Vince McMahon, Roman Reigns, Bayley, Becky Lynch, the Usos, and Seth Rollins on Twitter recently, and this has led there to be a ton of speculation that this will lead WWE to firing or releasing both Sasha Banks and Naomi after their stunt last night on Raw, which saw the duo effectively relinquish their women's tag team championships and walk out of the show despite being planned to be a major part of the show, something that many have deemed to be very unprofessional and childish. There is a backstage rumor going around right now that Vince McMahon is very angry over this whole situation and feels that Sasha Banks and Naomi went about their frustrations in a very bad and unproductive way. And while Sasha Banks is definitely one of the top superstars in WWE, there is a real chance that Sasha may be released along with Naomi following their walkout of Raw last night. However, some fans feel like this could be a workhorse storyline, that basically Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out is just a way for WWE to drum up some buzz for the women's tag team division, and the company in general, but the speculation has been proven to be untrue in the hours since Raw last night, with multiple wrestling insiders reporting that this is very much a real and shocking situation with Naomi and Sasha Banks. After this news started to go around, while some fans voiced their opinions that they agree with Sasha Banks and Naomi for venting their frustrations in this way, which would really get their point across to WWE, others felt like Sasha and Naomi went about this in the wrong way, and came across as very unprofessional and entitled. Give us your thoughts on this pretty shocking news of Sasha Banks and Naomi relinquishing their women's tag team championships and walking out of WWE last night on Monday Night Raw. And in your opinion, was this the right thing for Sasha and Naomi to do after being upset with the way WWE was handling and booking things? Or was this unprofessional or wrong? Do you think WWE will let this slide with no repercussions for Sasha Banks and Naomi, or do you believe they will be released in the coming days? Let us know down in the comment section below. Now, speaking of Monday Night Raw last night and the women's division, while the show was certainly overshadowed by the huge news going around right now regarding Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out of WWE, we did get to see a new contender rise for Bianca Belair's Raw Women's Championship. And while many fans speculated that it would end up being Becky Lynch getting this big title opportunity, WWE surprised fans in a good way and gave this huge opportunity to Asuka instead, who picked up the win against Becky Lynch last night on Raw to determine the next contender for Bianca Belair. Now, judging by most fans' reactions across social media, many seem very happy that WWE are at least trying to push Asuka a little bit since her return, with most feeling Asuka is a very deserving and underrated superstar, and needs way more opportunities than she has been given in the past, and WWE are clearly taking things in the right direction, and Asuka is now going to be facing Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's title at Hell in a Cell 2022. As far as whether or not WWE would actually book Asuka to win the Raw Women's Championship remains to be seen, but as of right now, one of our sources has reported that WWE don't plan for Belair to be losing her title anytime soon, causing there to be a lot of doubt that Asuka will be winning the Raw Women's Championship anytime soon, but nonetheless a step in the right direction, especially considering there was concern not that long ago that Asuka could have been next to be released from WWE. Things can and do change quite quickly in WWE, and Roman Reigns has caused his whole career trajectory to change in WWE very significantly in a very short amount of time. With all the news of Roman Reigns transitioning out of being a full-time superstar for WWE and beginning to work part-time instead, with Reigns also soon taking a truly long extended break from WWE this summer, a lot of fans have been wondering exactly how the company view Roman Reigns moving forward, and how his position in WWE is going to be changing with his new part-time contract. According to a new backstage rumor, WWE are preparing for Roman Reigns to basically become the new Brock Lesnar, a monstrous big-time drawing superstar who only works the big pay-per-views for WWE and some of the main roster shows building up to the big events. And that Vince McMahon feels Roman Reigns will become an even bigger draw for WWE by only appearing at a few big pay-per-views a year and a handful of the SmackDown or Raw episodes, and can truly take on the role of being the new Brock Lesnar for the company. Now, this wasn't the WWE's original plan until Roman Reigns made it clear that he wanted to begin working part-time after WrestleMania 38, so Reigns has truly been the one who's kickstarted this massive change in his career in WWE lately. More details are continuously being revealed regarding the whole situation involving Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out of WWE on Raw the other night, and according to new reports, WWE had planned for Naomi to face off against Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship at Hell in a Cell 2022, in which Naomi would have apparently lost the match to Belair, and at the same time, there was speculation that this would have led to Sasha Banks facing off against Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's Championship at the Hell in a Cell show, with Sasha Banks planned to lose to Ronda Rousey, meaning that the Women's Tag Team Champions were being planned to lose to the Singles Champions in WWE at Hell in a Cell, and this is likely a reason or contributing factor for Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out of WWE Raw last night.